Hello. Good afternoon. Well, my hair's doing some real weird stuff today. Sometimes that happens. I don't usually put anything in my hair. Well, obviously I have put dye in my hair, but I don't. That's a little better. I don't usually put like hairspray or mousse or anything in my hair. It just does what it does. There we go. I feel a little better about that. I'm Miss Carla, in case you didn't know or forgot. And this, oh, this is Charlie. She's kind of pouty. She's kind of a sad cat. She's got a lot of stress in her life. Sometimes she's stressed out that there's not enough food in her food bowl or enough water in the water bowl. Sometimes she's stressed out because I have to go to work sometimes and I'm not around. But, she's doing okay. We have some good cuddle times. Say hello, Charlie. Okay. She's got one of those sad faces, kind of like Puss in Boots. We're going to continue reading Tunnel of Bones by Victoria Schwab. And we just passed the halfway mark last time, so we're on chapter 15, page 146. We gather our things, one camera, one footage briefcase, a show binder, and a very annoyed cat, and head upstairs. Our room is on the second floor this time, and as Mom unlocks the door, I send Laura an answer to her last text. Me. Thomas Alain Laurent. The phone rings almost instantly. Impressive, says Laura. I can hear her fingers tapping on a keyboard. That's definitely a start. I hang back in the hall. A start? I know his name. He's not Rumpelstiltskin, says Laura. A name doesn't mean much without the memories that go with it. I slump back against the wallpaper. I miss the days when all I had to do was hold up a mirror. Nonsense, says Laura. Who doesn't love a good challenge? Easy for you to say, I reply. So far, I've been pushed off a roof, nearly crushed by a set piece, and narrowly avoided being hit by a giant mirror, not to mention he flooded our hotel room. You've had quite a day. Yeah, I think it's safe to say we've moved past mischief. I lower my voice. I'm worried, Laura, about my parents, about myself. Worried he'll catch me off guard, worried about what he'll do before I can face him. Yes, about that, says Laura. It sounds as though you could use some protection. Uncle Weathershaw says you can use sage and salt to ward off strong spirits. Where am I supposed to get sage and salt? I ask. Lucky for you, you have me. And as grateful as I am, I say, you are in another country. Didn't you get my package? What? I finally walk into the hotel room and see a small brown parcel, roughly the size and shape of a book, wrapped with black ribbon. Unfortunately, Mom notices it too. She picks it up, reads the label, and stares at me. Cassidy Blake, did you order something off the internet? It's from Laura, I say, swiping the parcel from her hands. I retreat to the bedroom and examine the box. A folded slip on top reads, For Cassidy Blake with compliments. After we spoke yesterday, continues Laura, I made some calls. Uncle had a number of contacts throughout the paranormal world, including a couple there in Paris. Lovely people. I turn the card over. On the back, it's signed, La Société du Chat Noir. I remember the desk clerk calling Grimm a chat noir. The Society of the Black Cat, Laura translates for me. Fascinating group, very eclectic, and of course quite secret. They have chapters in most major cities, but you need to know someone who knows someone. I study the card. First poltergeists, now secret societies. I'm starting to realize how little I know about the paranormal world beyond my parents' show and my own experiences in the Vale. And you're a member of this society? I ask, setting the card aside. Not yet, says Lara, sounding annoyed. I have a rather stringent age restriction, but I'm petitioning for a special exemption. Of course you are, mutters Jacob. I open the box, and he immediately begins to sneeze. Oh, yes, says Lara. I should have mentioned, Sage and Salt works on all ghosts. You totally, achoo, knew, achoo, this would, achoo, happen. I slam the box shut. Jacob glowers, sniffling. Thanks, Lara, I say. Yeah, grumbles Jacob, retreating to the open window. Thanks. That night, I slip pouches of sage and salt into Dad's jacket and Mom's purse, hoping those will be enough to keep the poltergeist away. From my parents, at least. The sachets also seem to be working on Jacob. He usually waits to leave until I'm ready for bed, but there's been no sign of him since dinner. He said he was going to patrol the hotel for Thomas, but I suspect he's looking for residents to scare. Then again, maybe he just wants to get away from the extra herbs I've sprinkled on the windows and outside the door, because the thought of Thomas slipping in at night is more than I can handle. And even with the sachets, I can't sleep. Finally, I throw off the covers and open the window, leaning out on the iron rail. The breeze is cool, the veil whispering against my skin. I draw the pendant from beneath my collar, let the mirror slip on its chain between my fingers, my reflection there and gone, there and gone. A mirror shows us what we know. I think of Jacob, of his face as he stood over the shattered mirror today, the way he pulled free of his reflection. A poltergeist is what happens when a ghost forgets. I close my eyes, arms crossed on the rail. Jacob must have gotten lucky. He must have not really been looking. He's not forgetting, I tell myself. He's not forgetting. I can feel my head drooping. He's not. A car alarm goes off a couple of streets away. I jerk upright, my heart slamming in my chest. As another goes off, then another, as if someone is banging on every hood. Thomas Alain Laurent. I say the name into the dark, as if the words might summon him, but there's nothing there. I look down at the street below, half expecting to see a little boy looking back, but the street stays empty. And yet, something steals through me like a chill, and I hear it, soft as whispers on the wind. Un, deux, trois. I don't know what makes me reach for my camera, maybe a hunch or the faint memory of how once it let me see through the veil itself. But as I bring the viewfinder to my eye and adjust the focus, the night beyond and the street below begins to shift and blur. Quoi sont-ce? And there he is. Thomas Alain Laurent stands on the street, his head tipped back toward the open window, his edges rippling, his eyes bright and hollow and red and leveled on me. I snap a photo, no flash, crank the film, snap again, as if I'm afraid he'll disappear again between shots. He stops counting and holds out his hand, an invitation to come out and play. He flashes me a trickster's grin, but when I shake my head, his face falls, dropping from a smile into a child's sneer. The effect is so sudden and eerie that I pull the viewfinder away from my eye. Without it, the street below looks empty again. And when I get up the courage to lift the camera and look again, Tomas is gone. I forgot that his name is pronounced Tomas. Chapter 16. The floor trembles and the walls shake as if the whole hotel is shivering. I'm crouched on the floor behind a pillar, trying to avoid the debris as it flies across the lobby. Jacob, listen to me! I call out over the sound of rattling picture frames and breaking glass. He's curled in on himself in the center of the marble floor, the air around him whipped into a frenzy. Stop, he pleads as water runs from his clothes, dripping onto the marble floor. His hair floats around his face, which is ashen, gray. Cassidy, orders Lara from behind the front desk. You have to send him on. No, I can still save him. I grip my camera, take a deep breath, and lunge out from the shelter of the pillar, already turning the lens on Jacob. I hit the flash, hoping the burst of light will jar him loose, bring him back to his senses. But the function on the camera jams, and before I can try again, a violent gust snaps the strap and rips the camera from my hands. It slams into the far wall with a sickening crunch. No, no, no. A gust of wind shoves me backward, and I struggle to stay on my feet. Jacob! I shout as the ceiling cracks and splits, raining down dust. The hotel shakes around us, as if it's about to come down. Stop, Jacob says, finally lifting his head. Stop me. And when Jacob looks at me, his eyes are glowing, no longer blue, but red. I sit up with a lurch, my heart racing. Sunlight streams in through the curtains and through Jacob, who's perched cross-legged at the end of my bed. You should see your hair, Cass. He runs his hands through his own, making it stand on end. You know it's super creepy, I say, when you watch me sleep. Jacob hops up, leaving the barest mark on the comforter. I wasn't watching you sleep. I was trying to wake you up. He points at the phone on my bedside table. It was going off. Lara kept calling. He pokes the cell, his fingers going straight through the screen. Trust me, if I could hang up on her, I would. I scramble up and grab the phone, scrolling through the texts. Lara, I found something, or rather, someone. Call me. It's important. Who uses proper punctuation in a text? Says Jacob. Uh-huh, I say half-heartedly, still shaken from the dream. You okay? He asks, eyeing me. You seem off. I'm fine, I answer quickly, my stomach dropping even as I say the words. Second rule of friendship, no lies. I hit call. Finally, says Lara. Do you ever sleep? I ask, rubbing my eyes. I get the requisite 7 to 8 hours, says Lara, though I confess I've always functioned better on 7. Cass, calls Mom, rapping her knuckles on the door, even though it's ajar. We're heading down to the salon for breakfast. You ready? I put my hand over the phone. I'll meet you there, I call back. I need a few more minutes. Don't go back to sleep, warns Dad. I won't. It took me ages to fall asleep last night after the Tomas sighting, and between that and the dream, I feel wide awake. What dream? Asked Jacob, reading my thoughts. I shake my head, pushing the nightmare to the back of my mind. And you saw the creepy kid? He presses. Hello, says Lara. To Cassidy. Sorry, I say, turning my attention back to the phone. What were you saying? Only that I have a lead for you. You're very welcome. You're supposed to say that after I say thanks. What's the lead? Okay, so the bad news is that there's no information on Tomas Alain Laurent, besides what you already know. Talk about a literal dead end, muses Jacob. Yes, says Lara, but not really a surprise. He did die 100 years before the invention of the internet. But I found something. Tomas's older brother, Richard. My heart does a flip. He's still alive? Don't be ridiculous, says Lara, but he did stay in Paris. Now, French names have far less variance than, say, American ones. There are 1,000 Laurents, but thankfully Thomas and Richard's parents had pretty unusual prénoms. That means first names. Can we fast forward? I ask, desperate for a lead. Fine, snaps Lara. I'm pretty sure I found them, your Laurents, Richard died 30 years ago at the ripe old age of 89, but his granddaughter, Sylvain, still lives in the city. I'm texting you her address. Maybe she knows the full story. Maybe she even has something that can help jog Tomas's memory. Lara, I say, you're amazing. I know, she says, but this wasn't terribly difficult. You'd be surprised what you can find if you know how to look. My school teaches fairly rigorous research methods. Is there anything your school doesn't teach? Apparently how to hunt a poltergeist. Jacob makes a gasping sound. Lara Chowdhury, did you just make a joke? I can almost hear Lara smile. Anyway, she says, good luck and be careful. You don't have to say that every time. You'd think not, she says, and yet. The call ends, the screen replaced by Lara's text bubble with the address of a Madame Sylvain Laurent in the 11th arrondissement. I have a lead. Now I just have to convince my parents to let me follow it. We're having breakfast down in the salon when I bring it up, and in the end, it's easier than I expected. Dad preens when I tell him about a break in the case, clearly excited to have a budding sleuth in the family, but Mom, for once, seems wary. Where's this sudden interest coming from? I look down at my croissant. Well, I say, I know you asked me to take photos for the show, but I also started thinking about the people whose stories don't make the show. I wanted to learn more about them, and something about this Tomas boy just stuck with me. I can't shake the feeling there's more to his story. I finish, hoping it doesn't sound like I practiced that in the mirror several times. I'm sure it's a very interesting tale, Cass, says Mom, and good on you for digging deeper, but our schedule here is so tight. It's our last day to film, and I can take her. The words come from Pauline, of all people. We can't ask you to do that, says Dad, but Pauline flicks her hand dismissively. It is no trouble, she says. You two will be fine with Anton and Annette. They know the city as well as I do. Besides, Cassidy has been very patient, and this mission clearly means a lot to her. She glances my way, eyebrows raised, clearly prompting me to emphasize. It does, I say. Mom and Dad exchange a long look and then agree on the strict rules that I won't bother the Laurents if they don't want to be bothered, and that I'll come back to the hotel as soon as it's done. You'll miss the butcher of marmosets, says Mom with a sigh. Don't even think about asking what that is, warns Jacob. I swing my camera bag onto my shoulder and hug my parents, patting the pocket of Dad's tweed coat to make sure the pouch of sage and salt is safe inside. And then we're off. Why did you offer to go with me? I ask Pauline as we get on the metro. You are a child, she says, and Paris is a big city. It's not safe to go wandering alone. I want to point out that I'm neither a child nor alone, and I've actually already gone exploring. But then again, that nearly ended in death by mirror, so maybe she's onto something. Besides, now I have a translator. I rock on my heels. It wouldn't have anything to do with the fact that my parents are going to that butcher place today, would it? Nonsense, she says, a little too quickly. You're not scared, are you? I ask. I mean, you don't believe in any of these things. Exactly. The train murmurs softly as it moves beneath Paris. It's warm and crowded, a motley collection of people, some in suits and others in jogging gear, high heels mixed in with rainbow flats. Most of them are on their phones, but a handful read paperbacks or newspapers or stare into space. The train rocks a little as it gains speed. Jacob stares out the window at the darkness sailing past the glass, and the effect is chilling, his reflection a little more than streaks and blurs. An image submerged, dissolving. I think of the nightmare, and then do everything I can not to think of it. I end up focusing instead on Tomas Laurent. The fact I haven't seen him since last night. Somehow, I don't find that very comforting. I thumb the camera absently, and Pauline nods toward it. That's quite an interesting model. You have no idea, I think, running my fingers over the battered metal casing. It's old and quirky, but I like it. My father is a photographer, she says. He restores old cameras. He says they see better than new ones. I smile. Yeah, they really do. If you like, she offers. My father could develop your film. I look up and smile. Really? That would be great. I consider the canister of film. I miss my dark room, I confess. That closet of space back home that was mine, and mine alone. Jacob clears his throat. Well, ours. Perhaps, says Pauline, you could even... But I don't hear the rest. A cold wind rushes over my skin, and Pauline's words are drowned out by the grinding of metal on rails. The train screeches as if someone's tapped the brakes a little too hard, and I nearly lose my balance. I shift my grip on the metal bar just in time. The train brakes again and grinds to a stop on the darkened rail. Oh, great, I think, right before all the lights go out. Part 4, Mayhem. Things are getting worse. We had... The first one was City of Light. Part 2 was Mischief Maker. Part 3, Menace. Now we're on to Mayhem. Let's see. It's chapter 17. This one's kind of long, but I think we can get through it. This will be our last chapter for today. It's pitch black. Thin light streaks through the windows from somewhere far down the tunnel. It's not pitch black. Thin light leaks through the windows from somewhere far down the tunnel, painting all the passengers in a weak glow. Everyone begins to grumble and look around, more annoyed than afraid. But Pauline's hand goes straight to the charm at her throat, and even in the almost dark, I can see her lips moving. Jacob moves closer to me, his gaze flicking my way. In the dark, he looks almost solid, just another body in the crowded car. Tomas? He asks, and I nod. I lift the camera's viewfinder to one eye, slide the darkened train in and out of focus, searching the crowd for a little boy who isn't there. Maybe this isn't him, says Jacob, sounding a little unconvinced. I mean, trains stop running sometimes, don't they? Technical malfunctions, power to the third rail. I don't know what the third rail is exactly, but I've heard people say that. Sure, I think, lowering the camera. And sometimes massive mirrors fall off trucks. I take a step forward, then stop. I should stay put, stay here, firmly on the real side of life. I completely agree, says Jacob. Do not engage the poltergeist. After all, there's nothing I can do until I know his story. Know enough to remind him. Do not engage, repeats Jacob. But then I see it through the camera lens, a curl of red light against the far window. Do not engage, warns Jacob as I feel myself reaching for the veil. I have his name now, his full name. It was enough to call him to the street last night. Maybe it will be enough to catch him here, enough to make him remember. Pauline has her back to us, scanning the car, and I step sideways into the dark. The crush of water in my lungs, and then I'm back in the veil. I expected to find a stretch of bare gray space, an absence, a gap between places, the spaces where no ghosts have met their ends. So I'm unnerved when my foot comes down on solid steel. The car is empty, the crowd erased, but the train car is here, drawn in crisp, clear lines, the kind that only come with someone else's memory. A ghost's memory. Jacob appears beside me. What part of do not engage? He says, trailing off, as the lights flicker in and out around us, illuminating empty benches, bare floor. No sign of a little boy in old-fashioned clothes. No crop of dark curls or glowing red eyes. But I know he's here. Tomas, I call out, but the word only echoes. Tomas, Tomas, Tomas. Tomas Alain Laurent? I go to the end of the train car and slide the hatch. The door springs open and I cross into the next car, expecting to find it empty. It's not. No Tomas, but a tall man stands in the center of the car, his back to us, swaying on his feet. Something dark and red stains the floor beneath his boots. He mumbles softly to himself, not in French, but in English. "Who did it?" he growls, twisting toward us. "Who did it?" And as he turns, I see the knife buried in his stomach, his own hand curled around the blade as if to keep it from falling out, the sheen of blood running down his front. "Who did it?" he growls again, taking a staggering step toward us. "Was it you?" Jacob pulls me backward and slams the door between us. "Well, that's going to haunt my dreams," he says as we straddle the space between the cars. "As fun as this was." Un, deux, trois, calls a playful voice behind me. A familiar voice. Tomas. The voice is coming from the front of the train, along with an eerie red glow. I step down from the train onto the tracks, squinting down the line of cars. "Tomas, Alain, Laurent," I say. I shout, come out, wherever you are." The red light dances along the tunnel wall, and I can hear the shuffle of small feet. A soft giggle. I clutch the pendant as I creep down the side of the train car. But he doesn't show himself. Maybe Laura was right. Maybe the name isn't enough. "Tomas, please," I call, and then, mustering my only French, "S'il vous plaît?" The red light brightens, shining along the tracks, and I see a pair of red eyes peek between cars. I hold out my hand the way Tomas did in the street last night, an invitation to come play. Tomas smiles. And then he presses his small hands to the side of the train. The crimson light ripples out from his fingers, and then he giggles again, and it disappears. "No," I hiss, jerking forward, but Jacob grabs my arm. "Cass." "What?" I snap, twisting free. "The train." And I don't understand what he means until I hear it. A faint and far-off groan. The sound isn't human. It's metal. And it's coming from the other side of the veil. The power is back on. The train is starting up again. I lurch toward the gap between cars as the ghostly train creeps forward. Jacob gets there first, hauls himself up, and offers a hand, and I'm grateful that he's solid enough for me to take it. He pulls me up just as the train begins to gain speed, and I throw open the door and the veil with it, stepping back into the real world as the lights flicker on around us. Pauline sees me through the crowd and frowns as I weave my way toward her. "There you are," she says, grabbing my shoulder. Her eyes are wide, her face pale, her other hand clutching the pendant at her chest. And I realize it's the first time I've seen her truly lose her composure. The first time I've seen her mask of calm slip, reveal the thing beneath. Fear. Pauline is terrified. "You're not a skeptic, are you?" I say. She lets go of my shoulder and forces out a steadying breath. "I don't know what you're talking about." I narrow my eyes. "You're not just superstitious, you're a believer." Pauline bristles. "No, of course not." But the no is too quick, too forceful. "What are you ashamed of?" I ask. "You're with a group of people whose whole job is to believe in ghosts." "I'm not ashamed of anything," she retorts, folding her arms across her chest. "I don't want to believe in ghosts." "But you do." She sighs, hesitates. "What was it you said? It is easy not to believe, and then once you experience something, it's hard not to." The train pulls into the station. "I have seen things once or twice, things I could not explain." Pauline shakes her head as the doors slide open. "Mon Dieu, I sound like a fool." I shrug. "Not to me." She manages a small, tight-lipped smile, then shoos me off the train onto the platform. It seems busy, even busier than usual. People are muttering under their breaths and clustering in front of electronic signs that show the different metro lines, red warnings popping up beside them. First 1, then 2, then 4. "What's going on?" I ask. "It looks like our train is not the only one having trouble," says Pauline. "There's no way Tomas could be doing all of that," says Jacob. He looks at me, a little nervous. "Right?" I want to believe him. but I don't. The warnings flash bright red, and all I can see are the poltergeist's eyes, the way the crimson seemed to spread out into the air around him. First comes mischief, then comes menace, then comes mayhem. The more trouble poltergeists cause, the more powerful they get. We have to hurry. I turn to Pauline, holding out the address for Sylvain Laurent. Lead the way. Tell me, Cassidy, says Pauline as we walk, why are you so interested in this family? Mom says I've always been naturally curious. She raises a brow. Is that all, or is there another reason you wish to visit the Laurents? I shift my weight from foot to foot. Do you really want to know? Pauline seems to genuinely consider it. No, I think not, she says, then sighs. But you should probably tell me anyway. So I do. I tell her about ghosts and poltergeists, about the fact that I somehow woke one poltergeist up and now it's following me, causing all kinds of trouble. Pauline blinks, her hand drifting to the charm around her neck. And the Laurents? They're the poltergeist's family, I say. I'm hoping if I learn what really happened to Tomas, it will help me send him on. Pauline starts to speak, but an emergency vehicle whips past, sirens wailing. She waits for them to fade, then starts again. And why is it your job to send this spirit on? That's a great question, says Jacob, but I ignore him. I guess because I can. A year or so ago, I almost died, and now I can cross the veil. That's the place between this world and the one with the ghosts. And my friend Laura says it's kind of like paying back a debt. That seems like a lot of pressure for a girl so young. Oh, I don't have to do it alone, I say. I have Jacob. She raises a brow. Jacob? He's my best friend, I say, adding, he's a ghost. This time, both eyebrows go up. I see. And despite what she just said about believing, I can tell she doesn't believe me. When I tell her that, she sighs. I believe that you believe. I shake my head. Why is it that when kids believe in something, adults write it off as imagination? But when adults believe in something, people assume it's true. I'm not sure anyone would assume this is true. But you just said you've seen things. You said you believed. Pauline shakes her head. Belief is not a blanket, Cassidy. It doesn't cover everything. Forgive me, there's a big difference between believing in the supernatural in the general sense and believing the 12-year-old girl you're escorting across Paris is a ghost hunter with a dead sidekick. Excuse me, says Jacob. Who is she calling a sidekick? Before I can explain that he's more of a partner in crime, Pauline stops, gesturing to a lemon-yellow building with white accents and flower baskets in the windows. Here we are. It's an old-fashioned apartment building. Laura didn't give me an apartment number, but a quick scan of the buzzers running down the right side says that Madame Laurent lives in 3A. A man is walking out of the building, and I catch the front door before it can swing closed behind him. Pauline and I slip inside. We're climbing the stairs when my nerves finally catch up. What I'm doing is ridiculous. It's insane. Agreed, says Jacob. I'm hoping Laura's knack for investigation paid off, and that I'm even in the right place. But it's also the only lead I have. I reach 3A, and my hand hesitates over the wood for a long second before I swallow and knock. A few moments later, a girl answers the door. She's maybe a year or two younger than me, in gold sneakers, jeans, and a pink and white sweater. Her skin is fair, and her light brown hair is pulled up in a high ponytail, glossy and straight. I have no idea how people get hair like that. Mine's always been wild. The white stem of a lollipop sticks out of the side of her mouth. Bonjour, she says, tipping her chin. I glance over my shoulder at Pauline, but she says nothing, just stands there unhelpfully. So I turn back. Hi, I reply in English. Parlez-vous anglais? I ask, muttering some French and definitely butchering it. The girl considers me, then nods. Yes, she says proudly. I go to an international school and they make us learn. It is a clunky language, n'est-ce pas? Sure, I say, just glad she speaks it. Are you Sylvain Laurent? She draws back a little. Mais non, she says with a nervous laugh. I'm Adele. Sylvain is my mother. She calls back into the apartment. Mama! And then slips away without so much as a goodbye. A moment later, a woman appears, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She looks like Adele, only older, her light brown hair hanging loose down to her shoulders. She even tilts her head the same way as she comes to the door. Oui? She asks, addressing Pauline. But Pauline shakes her head. C'est pas moi, she says, nodding at me. So I guess I'm on my own here. Sylvain Laurent stares down at me, a wary look in her eyes. Hi, Madame Laurent, I say, trying to muster Mom's easy smile or Dad's confidence. I'm researching a story about your great-uncle, Thomas Laurent. Sylvain frowns a little. What kind of story? Well, I say, faltering, I guess it's a research story? This is going smoothly, says Jacob, rocking on his heels. How did you hear about Thomas? Presses Sylvain. For a second, I'm just glad she knows who I'm talking about, but the excitement wears off when her frown becomes an outright scowl. Oh, right. I swallow, wishing I were a little older or at least a little taller. Well, my parents are hosting a television show about ghosts in Paris, and we were down in the catacombs, and I heard. But Madame Laurent is already shaking her head. What happened to Thomas happened a long time ago, she says, her tone cold. It is not fit for speaking. I look to Pauline, silently begging her to say something, to intercede, but she only shrugs. The girl, Adele, reappears in the foyer, lingering behind her mother, clearly curious. Please, Madame Laurent, I try again. I just want to help. She doesn't give me a chance to finish, turning her attention to Pauline. They exchange a few words in rapid French, and then our Paris guide brings her hand to my shoulder. Come, Cassidy, Pauline says. We must return to your parents. But I need to know. No, says Madame Laurent, her face flushing pink. You do not. History is history. It is past and private. And with that, she shuts the door in my face. That's the end of that chapter. So next time we'll be on chapter 18 on page 181. We've only got about 100 pages left, so maybe 4 or 5 more sessions and we'll be done. This is pretty cool. I like that she's talking to new people about ghosts, like that she finally just told the truth to Pauline, and hopefully we'll get to talk to the Laurent people again. Maybe the little girl. I got the feeling the little girl might want to talk. She seemed kind of interested. Also, kids tend to be a little chattier than parents when it comes to this kind of thing, I guess. I'm really enjoying this story. Sometimes you read one book and then there's a follow-up book or a sequel and you're not sure if you like it quite as much, but this is just getting better and better in my opinion. Well, I hope you enjoyed it as well. And I know this was kind of a long one today. I will be back on Monday. And Monday, I'm going to go back to my 9:30 reading. So 9:30 to 10, Monday and Wednesday, because I'll be back from vacation and I'll be in the library. So that's the best time for me to read there. So I will see you then. And thank you for listening and have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.